Good day. I'm here glad because I just heard and I have heard a series of podcasts that talk about enlightenment, existentialism, freedom, democracy. And that's what I've been meaning to talk to you about. In series of time during these months, I've been wondering, thinking about, and reasoning about what's freedom and what's had to do with this country and other aspects of the world. This country has been passing through a lot of changes in little time. The process of peace that was brought between the Colombian government and FARC was not very acceptable in the way of the signing and the terms. It is acceptable in some aspects, in the way that no one person wants war, but that's but the conditions were for some of the people not so restrictive. Throughout it's needed the peace, however, it wasn't that glad or awesome. This has to do with what in the new government has been happening, because the new government is run by the extreme right of the state that is canalized in one or two parties, the conservative, some part of the conservative, and all of the democratic center or centro democrático, which they idolize one person, that is Álvaro Uribe, which he thinks until some degree right, but not that right, that there was the need of a jurisdiction, a special jurisdiction, but not the way that it was created, and about the benefits. First of all, the jurisdiction, yes, it was necessary, but the competency or the competence was to be strictly decided and the courts had to have competence. For instance, the extradition, the Supreme Court had to have the competence to decide, or before deciding, verify if the felony was committed early during or before the past treaty, the peace treaty, or after the treaty. And if it was after the treaty, the responsible needed to be condemned or pass to the ordinary competence to be judged. Although, in the example of Santrich, there wasn't an accord with the advanced right ideology. Everyone or the rest of the country has seen that the jurisdiction was right, in the sense that the liberties of this person was damaged. For instance, the due process, in the sense of being captured and not sent to trial immediately or sentenced immediately, and it passed 32 hours. So the presumption and double diligence process was vulnerable to this person. So he had to be released because here comes another point. The jurisdiction didn't receive all the proofs, and with the proofs that this jurisdiction had, couldn't certify that the felony was made in one date or another, but didn't condemn or release or declare innocence. That's why the competence was passed to the court. So, yeah, maybe it wasn't like the government party have wanted that this person continued to be in prison, or at least not given the title of a representative, but the guarantees needed to be respected, and the state chamber had great arguments, such as that the title was given because of a court, and unlike what happened to Ivan Marquez, this person didn't have an objective and proven competence conflict, because in the case of Ivan Marquez, he haven't in the time of this year, or in the time that that he has been given, he hasn't been presenting or at least visible to the jurisdiction, and plus he has a nephew that is condemned. So that's why he has a conflict of interest or legal, or is under, or he didn't complain or didn't solve one of the inabilities that he had. So that's why he has lost, and just lost the name or the poster or the position. I was talking about like, if I still agree with what Uribe thinks. In some aspect I agree, in which it says that the, and not just me, for instance, Alianza Verde, but Alianza Verde thinks more in the middle, and that's what I'm about to explain to you, because I had turned in this year or past months into that perspective, because Uribe and his party has said that the maximum responsible of felonies against humanity should haven't been at least named into position of Congress until they accomplish the condemned or the conditions of telling the truth and repairing with the in front of the jurisdiction, special jurisdiction. But I'm more into the Green Party perspective, in the way that they believe that yes, the maximum responsible shouldn't have been named, or shouldn't have not even have been in the court to have been named, and the government shouldn't have accepted that point. And although the maximum chief commanders will have argued or complained, they will have accepted some amendments in which it says that other persons should have been named into Congress, just like the first position of the Democratic Center Party, which is the government party. But now the Green Alliance says that they are in the Congress. We have to obey and comply to our part in the accords. The Congress of the FARC party should go when they are appointed or summoned to the jurisdiction, and if they respect the courts and they are respectful of the Colombian state, they and if they don't commit, or if there isn't any suspicion or any evidence or any doubt of any of them uh, committing a felony during the months after the signing of the courts, so they could there's no reason to say that they cannot continue in their position or as functionaries of the Senate. That's why I agree with the Green Alliance, because yes, they respect the courts, they are more conciliating in they're more in the position of getting into alliance and accords and respecting what it has been signed, but they also are tough in their position of making the courts respect. And that's what it has happened in this last week when Santrich was named a representative at the representative chambers. That's why they were in protest or strife, almost strife, because for the Green Alliance there was an act of disrespectfulness to the courts, but they said clearly that they respect the FARC party because they have been respecting the courts, but they don't respect then the naming of Santrich, because with the new video and the new evidence and not being a clear innocence or culpability in the sentence of the special jurisdiction files of the sentence, or pronunciation of the magistrates, then it wasn't for the alliance of the Green Alliance or the Green Alliance. It wasn't wise to name a doubtful person into a representative, because that sends uh, a bad sign or a message to the people that any accord could have their ways to not be respected and fulfilled. This has to be to do with and be about freedom, first of all, because everyone has the freedom to walk away, to think about their actions, to do what must be done, or even to be happy, to to make something of themselves during the life. But there are ethical restrictions and principles which has been to be or and laws that have been into a course that was made years or centuries ago, which define us into a respectful, rational humans, which that put us into a position to respect one another and or even to treat each one as person, as human, respecting the views, their their sense of what each one see in the other. And that's what this is about, first of all, because yes, Santrich or any person is free, but if there is any doubt about any responsibility, or if any situation isn't clear, first of all, you cannot show yourself into a chamber, into a reunion when there isn't any clear sense about what has happened or what is happening until everything is figured out. That would be better to be avoided. And when it's all clear up, then there's no necessity of being apart. I have seen through a lot of experience, a lot of videos, that every person needs some sense to exist, or autonomy, or any discretion of their existence, any clear of what they do or shouldn't be doing, shalls or shall nots. And the existentialists like Sartre, like Heidegger, or even the ones who terrorize about phenomenology, they have said, first of all, or like Nietzsche, that every person should be clear of any sort of custom, any sort of culture. Yes, they should learn it, but they should have free will to decide and sense to decide why they're still living or why they're still pursuing their dreams. So if you take any custom, any religion, any idol apart, and if a person is straight up and just left with just himself and his mind, he has to make sense of what should make sense to exist. And I have seen a lot of people being streamed off or cut off of their lives or their comfortable zones, and accomplish because they have known that they want to be right to other people. They want to be right to themselves, or even they just want to live, to learn, to make sense of their lives, through learning, through experience, or through simple pleasures. Although, of course, accomplishing their responsibilities. And there are a lot of examples in life. For instance, when a person is true with himself or herself, or with its person self, then and tell the world and or live the way its true self lives, then he finds out he's authentic, and that's part of the existentialism, to be authentic, to know their weakness and strength, and strive through their strengths, acknowledge the weakness and manage them. For some persons, be a light, be an example. This happens through any relationship, work relationship, family relationships, or any kind of. Be an example. There could be tough times, but if you acknowledge what you have to do, the experience or the process that you have to be through to pass and get reborn after you pass it, after the finish line, you can then or during the process think of what should have been passing or shall not, or what should be the next step, and work through it and make sure the new experience is better after you experience the trip of self-knowledge is due or is complete. Because if you don't complete your process, then everything will be doubtful, and you'll not be true to yourself. Or it could be that you didn't, that part of the process is to repeat an experience, but don't make mistake out of it. But to pass through those moments, you have to remember what were the mistakes, or what was left, or what should have happened, or what it should have been discussed, and do it. Do what it wasn't made before and make it. So the new experience that it seems a repeat of the one before is done. It's done but better. This has to do with what had happened in this country in the last months, because beginning with the Indians, they were and they are waiting for answers of petitions that they are just, but in some ways they are extremes, because yes, they were owners of the land here in Colombia, but they were conquered, they were put apart. Then came the new owners of the land, and they were distributed. Yes, a conflict was made because violence between neighbors, and that was involved in the drug trafficking, the illegal mining, that caused more land. People were forced to leave their lands, and some of those lands were owned by civils, which they knew of the conflict, but other lands were justified owned, legally owned, and so there is freedom, because yes, the Indians can make strives, make petitions of just rights that the people owe them. But there comes the existentialism, because if that's the only reason that they live on, there could be some extreme, because they were asked for more and more, and it's very difficult to concede or to agree to those petitions, because first of all, like I said, the lands have already been not owned, some illegal, some legal, some in good faith, some not. So there need to be consent. First of all, yes, they have to, in some extent, agree with the money that they have been given or agreed to give to the Indians. Second of all, they should accept the agreement that the illegal owned land would be restored to the Indians or given to the Indians, and the poor farm owners that were forced to leave the lands, but they need to accept that they will not continue to extend irregular in irregular way or illegal way the frontiers of the Indian reserve to the own lands. For instance, in Cauca or in Valle del Cauca, which are two departments. In Valle del Cauca, it's been happening something worse, because the Indians have been invading constantly their own farms, and they have been established or been killing animals or robbing animals from those lands, and or making disasters in those lands, which they deny to pay, because they say those lands are theirs.